Good evening. I'm Jen Ernstein, Youth and Teen Program Coordinator with the Vernon Area Public Library. Tonight's program, What to Do When Your Child Turns 18, will begin shortly. This program is in the webinar format, and the chat has been disabled. Please drop any questions for the Shire Law Group into the Q&A throughout the program, and they will be answering questions at the end of the presentation. Tonight's program is presented in partnership with the SHS Family Engagement Department, Shire Law, and the Vernon Area Public Library. The program is being recorded. Alan Press received his law degree from Loyola University of Chicago and received the Amjur Award in Federal Taxation. He also graduated from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., where he received his BSBA. In addition to being a lawyer, Alan is a certified public accountant and a member of the following organizations: Wealth Council, the Illinois State Bar Association, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, and he has successfully assisted clients with their estate planning needs for 28 years from the time he opened his doors to the firm. Caren Naidoff received her law degree from Temple University, where she was the recipient of the Outstanding Legal and Research Writing Award, was a member of Tau Epsilon Rho, and was named to Who's Who among American law students. Caren formerly practiced law in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, assisting clients in employment law. As a partner at Shire Law Group, PC, Caren works with clients to help ensure that they are well situated in the areas of estate planning, creating wills, trusts, power of attorney, and advising in the area of elder law. Welcome to Dr. Guganik and to Alan and Caren. Thank you so much for presenting this very important session for our families.
Thank you so much. Thank you to both of you for allowing us to be here this evening and coordinating. And we are very excited to be bringing this essential information to all of you, what you must know when your child turns 18. We appreciate you spending part of your evening with us. As introduced, I'm Caren Naidoff.
And I'm Alan Press. And as Jen pointed out, we're both partners at Shire Law Group right down the street in Lincolnshire. And beautiful sunny Lincolnshire, you can tell from behind us. So a beautiful evening. Thanks so much for joining us. We're very excited to be presenting this topic this evening, and we do welcome your questions. So as Jen pointed out, please put them into the Q&A. And if we don't answer them during the presentation, we will definitely get to them at the end. And if for some reason you have a question after the presentation, maybe one that you didn't think of until later on today, you can always email or call us. Our information is right there on the screen, and we'll be happy to try to help you out. So with that, I think we'll get started. I think you're really going to like this program. We are estate planners, so this is the type of work that we do. We do wills and trusts and powers of attorney and healthcare directives. So again, we're very excited to bring this to you this evening.
Many of you joining us this evening have juniors. Some of you have seniors, and some of you have some children that are younger than that. And for all of those who have seniors, congratulations on upcoming graduation. So the senior families that are joining us, your children will be graduating. Some of your children joining us this evening will be heading to college. Some will be traveling close to home or far away. Some of you have children who are going to be starting a new job, and some have children who are going to be moving. Perhaps they're going to be moving into an apartment or a dorm, but most likely it's a combination of many of these things. But no matter what direction your child is heading in, there's one thing that we all have in common, and that is that once our children turn 18, they are now considered legal adults. And with that designation comes some very important changes for them, for you, and for your family as a whole. This chart that we have up here demonstrates some of those changes. You can see that we have before 18, before your child becomes a legal adult, and then after 18, once they are a legal adult. So before 18, you could access your child's medical records. So if you had a question, for example, about your child's vaccination history, you could call up the doctor's office and ask the nurse or talk to the doctor and get that information. Make sure that your child was all up to date. After 18, that right changes. Before 18, you could make decisions about the course of your child's medical treatment. So if your child tripped and hurt themselves, you could, on behalf of your child, work with the doctor and the nurse and discuss what kind of medical treatment was going to ensue. And after 18, that right changes. Before 18, you could speak to your child's doctor. So if your child wasn't feeling well, you could call up to the doctor and the nurse, and you could relay the different things that your child was feeling, if they had a fever or they weren't feeling well, upset stomach, and decide on what kind of treatment was going to ensue from that. And then after 18, that right changes. Before 18, you could help your child with finances. So if your child had some bank account that was in their name and they perhaps got a statement that they were unsure about, you could call the bank on their behalf and try to figure out what was going on. And after 18, that rate changes. Before 18, you could access your child's educational records. And after 18, that right changes. And we're going to talk about that as well. That's always a tricky one for parents. So what's a parent to do? Well, there's 3 essential documents. They are healthcare and financial powers that are going to be given by your adult child to you in order for you to take action on their behalf if it's necessary. And we're going to discuss all of those 3 documents. We're also going to discuss FERPA. FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, and FERPA is what governs your access to your child's educational records. So we'll spend some time on that this evening as well. And then when we've done this presentation in the past, we have had some common concerns that have been raised, and we wanted to proactively bring those to you this evening. So Alan's going to touch on wills and trusts and access to digital assets, and I will follow up with a discussion on dorm, apartment, and global insurance, and discuss health and safety apps. First, though, we're going to get started with those 3 essential documents regarding healthcare and financial access. Those 3 documents are the healthcare power of attorney, the HIPAA authorization, and the power of attorney for property. And we're going to take each one of these documents one at a time and explore them. So a parent cannot make medical decisions on behalf of their adult child, even in an emergency, unless proper authorization has been put in place. And that proper authorization is known as the healthcare power of attorney. The healthcare power of attorney gives parents or a designated individual the authority to make medical decisions on an adult child's behalf. So one of the questions that we always get from our young adults who come to sign their documents is, I don't want to sign anything that's going to give away any of my own rights. I want to be able to make my own decisions. The healthcare power of attorney and all the other documents we're going to be discussing this evening, they don't supersede, or signing them does not waive an adult child's rights to make their own decisions. But authorization is especially important in the event with the healthcare power of attorney that your adult child is unable to make his or her own medical decisions for one reason or another. So as long as the adult child can make their own medical decisions, there's no need for that healthcare power of attorney. But if they can't, then the healthcare power of attorney is an essential document to have in place. What would happen if these documents were not in place? Well, potentially you would have to go to court to get a guardianship in order to make medical decisions on behalf of an adult child. This healthcare power of attorney, having it in place, avoids the expense and that aggravation of potentially having to go to court. to have that ability to make medical decisions on your adult child's behalf. So if there is a crisis in place, the only thing that you want to be able to think about and focus on is making decisions that are going to be necessary when your child can't make their own. So this healthcare power of attorney is a very important document to have in place. It's relatively easy to put these documents in place, and they should be something that's on the top of your list as your child approaches that 18 years of age, which is going to designate them as a young adult. So my friend had a daughter, her oldest, who was going off to a university that was very large, and it was the first time that her daughter was leaving home, and she was concerned about her daughter acclimating to that school, and it suggested to her daughter that maybe she consider joining a recreational sports team. So her daughter loved that idea and decided to join a soccer team because she loved playing soccer. And she was meeting people and she was having a really good time. And then at the end of practice, one night, she collided very badly with a teammate and she was injured very badly and had to go to University Health Services to get checked out. So she is away from home for the first time with doctors that she's never met before, in an environment that she's never been in. And she did not really appreciate or understand what was being told to her. And she was in a lot of pain and really could not make her own decisions. Fortunately, my friend had the healthcare power of attorney in place for her daughter, and she was able to electronically send the document to where it needed to go so she could make some important decisions on behalf of her child medically. When we do these documents for our clients, we always do electronic copies. It's very important to keep these on your desktop someplace that you can easily access them, because if you need them, you are going to want to send them off right away to wherever they need to get to. Electronic copies of all of these documents are just as good as originals. So you do not need the original. You can use the electronic copy, and hopefully you never need the documents, but if you do, you're going to want to send them very quickly to wherever they need to get to. So the electronic documents is the way you're going to use them if they're needed. The second document you've all heard of because you filled out a lot of these in your lifetime. They're HIPAA authorizations, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. And once your child becomes a legal adult, putting a HIPAA authorization in place is very important, because this document is going to be what allows healthcare providers to release and share medical information with designated people. It's just about information. It is not a decision-making document. It allows doctors to speak about a student or an adult child's medical condition with whomever that adult child authorizes. So in paragraph 1 of the HIPAA authorization, your adult child can name as many people as they want. And any of those people listed can, for example, call up a hospital and get information about what is going on. The HIPAA authorization is crucial if your adult child is admitted to a medical facility and you need to get information about their condition, especially if for some reason they can't speak to you directly, or maybe they can't fully relay the medical information to you. Being able to send this HIPAA authorization directly to the hospital or wherever it needs to get sent is what's going to give you access to important information so you know what's happening with your child. Again, at a time of crisis, your primary concern is to ensure that your child is taken care of. You do not need the potential additional burden of court proceedings and associated legal costs. Having this HIPAA authorization is peace of mind. So I have a few personal examples that I bring to you this evening about my own children. And the HIPAA authorization is the first example. So my son went to a university out of state, and I don't know if you will experience the same thing that I did, but with both my children, when they were sick or they were ill, I would encourage them to go to University Health Services to get seen medically. And they would always tell me, for one reason or other, they couldn't. Either there wasn't the right time slot for them to get seen, or they had an event to go to, or a class, or something else that prevented them from going and getting medically seen. So we had told my son, who was sick, to please go to University Health Services because there was stuff going around. He said he couldn't. It got worse. And by the end of the week, we got a call from him and he said, don't worry, I'm on my way to the emergency room, which, you know, you never want that call because of course you're going to worry. And he said, my phone, I only have one battery left. I have no charge left and I didn't bring my charger with me. And I'm with a friend and he has a phone and he's going to call you and let you know what's going on. So in that period of time, of course, we're panic stricken and now we can't reach my son because his phone is no longer operable. And we are waiting for his friend to call. So finally, his friend did call and said, you know, I can't get any information because I'm not authorized to receive any. So at that point, I quickly picked up the phone, called the nurse's station, said to the nurse, you know, this is my son, what is going on? And the nurse said to me, we can't even tell you if your son was admitted until we have the proper documents in place. That is a true story. So luckily I had these documents, I had them on my desktop. I knew exactly where they were. I had them electronically. I could send them right away to the nurse's station. I called back after I sent them and the nurse at that point said, you know, I'm so sorry, we just have to follow protocol. This is very important. And now I can tell you what's going on. So I can speak firsthand how important these documents are in place. Again, hopefully you never need to use them, but if you do, it's very important that you have them readily available.
Thanks, Caren. So Caren talked about the healthcare power of attorney and the HIPAA authorization. Those are medical directives. We're now going to turn our attention to the power of attorney for property. This is a financial power of attorney. So when you hear that word property, think of it in the broadest sense of the word. So the power of attorney for property is meant to handle anything that's related to finances. It will allow parents or who's ever named as the agent under the power of attorney to manage their adult child's finances. Again, it becomes critical if an adult child is injured or sick and is unable to either temporarily or permanently make their own financial decisions. This can cover things like a bank account, a brokerage account, dealing with the Department of Motor Vehicles, you know, handling tax issues. And again, having this form in place is going to prevent the need for you as a parent, if you do need to make financial decisions and don't have the form completed, you'll be able to avoid going to court to have a guardianship. If we do have a question in the Q&A, let's just take a quick look. How do we combine these documents? I'm a single parent and my daughter is going to college out of state in New Jersey. We're going to talk about the out of state issue in a few moments. How do you obtain these documents? Excuse me. Yes, so we're going to talk about that too. So stay tuned for a few minutes and we'll talk about how you can prepare these documents. The power of attorney for property that we prepare and the healthcare power of attorney are statutory forms. So they are available online. We do want to caution you, however, that there is an advantage to having a lawyer assist with this because the documents do need to be witnessed and notarized in a special way. And we'll talk a little bit about our program and closer to the end of this presentation, but we do go over the documents in detail with your young adult to make sure that they understand what they're signing. And we're going to talk about the out-of-state issue in just a few moments if you can hang on for that. So again, this is a financial power of attorney. If you do need to do anything of a financial nature, this is something that's going to be important to have so you can avoid having to go to court to do something. Now, there are other ways that you can have control over an adult child's finances, like if you're joint on the account with them, of course, that's going to enable you to do things with that particular account. But it's always good to have the power of attorney for property available in case something pops up that you just didn't expect, and it's of a financial nature. So again, in looking at the different uses for this form, It comes in very handy. Let's say if your child is off at school or they're traveling and a letter comes from the IRS or the Illinois Department of Revenue. Let's say something has to be done at the Department of Motor Vehicles, or you need to do something at a financial institution like a bank or a brokerage firm or somewhere where there's a financial asset. It's going to become very important to have this form available, and they're easy and inexpensive to prepare, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. Another important thing is that I mentioned that these forms are available as statutory forms. When we do them in our office, we add additional powers because certain things may be left out of the form. And if they're not specifically provided for, the agent may not be able to do it for the young adult. And one of those things is going to be a specific power to handle digital assets. Now, we always tell people that relying on a power of attorney in order to obtain access to something online should be the plan B. The plan A should be consider having a password emergency system within your family. So especially with the accounts that are important, it may not be that big of a deal to have the password to get onto your adult child's Snapchat account or something like that. But it is going to be important maybe to get access to their online bank account. So it's going to be much easier if you have that login and password rather than trying to rely on the power of attorney. But having that addressed in the power of attorney is going to be very important in case you don't have that password management system or it fails for some reason. So again, by having a lawyer draft these, they can address issues like this where the statutory forms may be insufficient. Now, we had that question about the student going to school in New Jersey, and let's say your student is going to go to school or take a job in any of the 50 states, or 49, I guess, other than Illinois. Does it make sense to have these forms prepared, before your adult child leaves for college? And we're going to say yes. Number one is most students are not changing their residency anyway. So even if, your adult child is going to school in Indiana or Pennsylvania or California, they typically remain Illinois residents. And even if they do change their residency, the forms that we prepare, as long as they're executed properly, they have proper witnessing and notarization, they are going to be honored in all 50 states. So as long as the form is created properly, it can be used in other states. So if you have a Illinois power of attorney for healthcare drafted and your child goes to school in New Jersey and you needed to use that form in order to make medical decisions for your child, that form is going to work. Now, could the forms be done in the state that they're going to? Of course, that's going to be okay as well. But also keep in mind that these forms are going to be good not only if they go to school, but afterwards as well. So they can be valid. There's no expiration date on the forms. They do have to be 18 to sign the forms. That's typically a question that we get. They have to be legal adults before they can do the forms. But once they're signed, they don't expire. And typically young adults are going to, the best way to revoke one is to do a new one, and a normal time to do a new one would be when they have a major life change, significant other, or they get married, and it's time for them to do a new power of attorney. That would make a lot of sense, but it's going to be good while they're at school. And then if that student in New Jersey then takes a job in New York, they're going to be good there as well. So you don't need to worry about that.
So having these forms in place, having these documents, that healthcare power of attorney to make medical decisions, if your adult child could not make their own, the HIPAA authorization to get information about what's happening with your child medically, and the power of attorney for property to help out with financial affairs if needed, gives you peace of mind. They allow you to make immediate decisions and give you access to critical information. So if a crisis occurs, you can just focus on that situation. The documents are easy to put in place, and we're going to talk to you a little bit more about the logistics of putting them in place. They should be among the top of everyone's list once your child is 18. And copies of the documents should be kept in a safe and easily accessible place. Again, when we do these documents, we really recommend electronically. You have them someplace that you can easily access them. So when you need them, you know exactly where they are. You can send them off to wherever they need to get to.
You're welcome. All right, let's go.
All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is FERPA. So in addition to limitations to accessing medical information and handling medical affairs and financial affairs, once your child becomes a legal adult, your access to your child's educational records changes once they become a legal adult at the age of 18. And FERPA is what governs your access to your young adult student's record. FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. The next slide for you is a demonstration of before your child turned 18 and was not a legal adult to when at 18 on their birthdays they become a legal adult, what those changes are as it relates to FERPA. So before 18, you can view your child's educational records. And after 18, that right changes without the proper authorization put in place. Before 18, you could request a correction to your child's educational records. And after 18, that right changes without the proper authorization put in place. Before 18, you can decide who can see your child's educational records. And after 18, that right changes without the proper authorization in place. And before 18, you could also get photocopies of your child's educational records. And then once your child becomes a legal adult at 18, that right changes without the proper authorization in place. So there's a common theme here, proper authorization. And that proper authorization is a written consent form. FERPA has a specific form that your young adult student must fill out in order for the school to be able to release information to you about their educational records. And there's a lot of misunderstanding about FERPA. These young adults think that it's just about giving access to their grades, their academic grades to their parents, but it's much more important than that. It's the whole educational record. So for example, if your child was at school and was having some difficulty adjusting and confided in an administrator, and that administrator had a concern and they were worried about your child's mental well-being and they wanted to reach out to you, unless there was a FERPA consent form in place, they would be unable to do that. So FERPA is a very important document that consent form be completed by your student when they're going to school. It is school specific. So if they transfer to another school or they get a graduate degree and it's at a different school, they will need to do a FERPA for each school that they're attending. Some of the universities have their own FERPA forms. Sometimes your child might not even know that they've checked out the FERPA form and put a check there where it says that they're giving you consent to receive information about their educational records. But it's important that you have a FERPA form in place, that consent form. We always do backup FERPA forms for all of our young adults. And you should definitely call the school, make sure that your child has a FERPA authorization in place, especially if you're not sure. These FERPA authorizations, they are kept at the registrar's office of the school. So you'll know who to contact just to make sure that there is one in place for your child. So we wanted to, again, bring you some common concerns that are often raised to us. And those are wills and trusts and access to digital assets. And again, Alan's going to touch on those this evening. And then I will follow up with a discussion about dorm, apartment, and global insurance and touch on health and safety apps as well.
Thanks, Caren. So we're going to talk briefly about wills and trusts we have the healthcare and the financial powers of attorney, and those are one essential element of estate planning, Wills and trusts are another, but the question becomes, does your young adult need to have these in place, a will and a trust? Is it premature for that? Do they really need to have one at this point in their life? And of course, we're going to see that the answer is it might depend on circumstances, but let's take a quick look and delve into this a little bit further. And first, we're just going to define what these are. What is a will? Many of you may be familiar with what a will is. It's a document that you have that says what you want to have happen to your assets after you pass away. And it's important to note that a will is only effective at death. Contrasts this to the powers of attorney and the healthcare directives that we've already discussed. Those documents are actually only effective during lifetime. So powers of attorney and healthcare directives effective during lifetime. A will is only going to be effective at death. And let's say I might have a will that says, if I pass away, I'm leaving everything to my spouse. And if she's predeceased me, then in equal shares to my kids. And I can go a little bit further in describing how or when I want that to happen. So a will is going to give you freedom to leave money to the people that you want to leave it to. So you have the right to leave your money any way that you wish. There may be certain protections built in, especially if I was like trying to disinherit a spouse or something like that. There are some legal protections for spouses, but generally you can do what you want with your will. You can leave your money to whomever you wish. Let's take a quick look at a trust. So a trust is a document like a will that can also spell out how and when and to whom you want to leave your money after you pass away. However, a will is effective immediately upon signing, and it's still effective after death. So it's kind of like a super document that's effective during both time periods. So, you might create a trust and make yourself the trustee. And during your lifetime, you can plan for what happens if you were to become incapacitated. And then you could also plan for what happens with your assets that are in the trust after you pass away. So again, like a will, you can plan for things after death. And like powers of attorney, you can plan for things during lifetime as well. A trust also allows you to get very specific as to how you want things to be handled. I mean, let's say I had a beneficiary that was very bad with money. And if I passed away, I didn't want to leave them a large sum of money. Maybe I want somebody else to handle it for their benefit. A trust is going to allow you to become very specific as to the mechanism that you want to put in place to handle those types of things. So that's all interesting, I'm sure. But the question again is, does my 18-year-old or my young adult need to have either one of these documents in place? And you may want to ask these questions. Does your adult child have a significant amount of their own assets? I mean, maybe they have inherited their own money, or maybe they were trading stocks in the middle of the night while they're at high school and they're very wealthy, or they've accumulated a large sum of assets. That might be a good reason for them to have their own will or a trust. But there's also, for most young adults that have modest amounts of their own assets, there might be substitutes that might work out well. Like you can have an account that's payable on death, right? So you can open up a bank account and you can set up a beneficiary and say, well, geez, if I pass away, I want this account to be payable on death to my mom or to my dad or to my parent. You could also have joint assets. If I have a joint account with my son and I pass away, he becomes the automatic owner of that account without anything having to happen. And despite whether or not I have a will or a trust, right? So that joint ownership is going to take precedence. In addition, you have the ability to have beneficiary designations on many different types of assets like retirement plans or life insurance. So if I have a life insurance policy, I can name my daughter as the beneficiary. And that's a contract that I have with the insurance company that says if I pass away, all my daughter's going to have to do is fill out a claim form and supply a death certificate, and they're going to pay the proceeds of that life insurance policy directly to my daughter. Again, irrespective of whether or not I have a will or a trust, even if the will and the trust contradicts what's in that beneficiary designation, the beneficiary designation is going to control. So there are mechanisms available to make sure that, if a young adult were to pass away, that their assets can be easily distributed out to the people that they want them to receive. Now, again, if your adult child has more significant assets, then of course, creating a will or a trust might be beneficial. And certainly when they get older, they get married, and definitely when they start a family and maybe have some children, that's going to be a great time to do a will or a trust, because in addition to handling all this financial stuff, you also want to make sure that you're designating appropriate people to act as a guardian for your grandchildren, right? So they want to make sure that they handle those issues. So it may be something that maybe at 18, may be premature, but a little bit later in life, it does become very important. And then just wanted to briefly mention that when we do wills and trusts, again, we also incorporate language that allows the trustee under a trust or an executor under a will to handle digital assets. We want to make sure that's nice and clear. So even after death or during incapacity, there is an ability to handle digital assets if that became necessary.
We wanted to discuss tonight a little bit about insurance. So things happen, and one of the things that you might want to put on your list, among many others, is to look into insurance. So insuring yourself with dorm, apartment, or rental insurance, and if your child is going to be traveling, maybe looking into global travel insurance. And surprisingly, standalone policies for the dorm, apartment, and rental insurance can be relatively less expensive than you would think. You can also check your homeowner's policy, because often the homeowner's policy covers this type of insurance, and just do a comparison between the standalone policies and the homeowner's policy to see what makes more sense depending on the deductible. Just something to look into. And I can also speak to this personally because I have my other child who has given me the ability to bring a real life example to you this evening. So my child went to school in the middle of Pennsylvania, which gets extremely cold during the winter. I told both my children before they went to school to make sure that they never leave their computer unattended, because even though you don't like to think about it, things happen, and their whole world, as you all know, is on their computer. It's where they get all of their assignments, where they do their papers, among everything else that they manage in their worlds. And they knew that it was important that they took their computer with them, that they weren't going to leave it someplace if they had to run off and do something in a public place. So my daughter, she had a favorite place to study at the library, and one very cold, wintry day, she bundled up with her jacket and her backpack and her computer, and she went to her favorite spot. And she got situated there. And I don't know about all of you, but when I went to school, I didn't have the benefit of Grubhub when I got hungry to deliver food. But she was hungry and she got her food ordered, and she went to pick it up at the front of the library. And she did heed the lesson of not leaving your computer unattended in a public place. She brought her computer with her. And she went to get her food, and when she got back up to her favorite spot, her coat was stolen. So in addition to being extremely upset that somebody would steal her coat, it was cold, it was the middle of winter, and she was very, very understandably upset. Fortunately, we had purchased this dorm, apartment, and rental insurance, and it had covered theft. And all she had to do was file a police report, and within 1 week, She had the exact coat replaced. So it paid for itself right then and there. Different policies cover different things. Just sort of have to look and see what makes sense for you and your family. Check out different policies, check out the prices, see if it would make sense for you to look into something like that. But I can tell you from personal experience, it was a good purchase for us.
I think when I went to college, I think we were lucky to have a vending machine at the
It's
library.
true.
So, and then we were told to be quiet when we're chewing the Snickers bar.
This is something we wanted to bring to your attention this evening. This is for your young adult, but it's really for anybody in your family that might be relevant to have something like this in place. So if you have an iPhone, on your home screen, you will find this icon, this white box with a red heart in it. This is the medical ID app. If you don't have an iPhone, you can download a similar health app onto your smartphone. And the medical ID app allows first responders, they can bypass any kind of lock screen. There's no facial recognition or numerical code. They can get right into that medical ID app and see anything that you have put in there in terms of any allergies to food, to medication, any medical condition that you might have. So this is not something that we advocate that you use or that you put information into, but we did want to bring it to your attention because it is a resource that is literally at the tip of your fingers. And if this is something that would be helpful to your young adult who's going off or to anybody else in your family, just something that we wanted to make you aware of. And then we also often get questions about safety apps for your smartphone. And there are dozens of safety apps if you Google them. And the only thing that we will say is vet these safety apps because there are so many of them. One thing that might be useful is to have your child ask another friend that they trust what safety apps they are going to be downloading or they have. You could ask parents that you have a relationship with that you also feel like you could go to and ask what safety apps they're using. We don't really advocate that you use one safety app over another. I can share with you what I used for my children. We had Follow My Walk, Follow My Uber, Find Friends, Life 360. Those were all really good apps personally for our family. But again, there's many out there. Look into it if you think that this is something that would make sense for your family, and just make sure you vet these apps before you download them onto your phone.
But don't abuse it because you might get kicked off by your young adult who's tired of you monitoring their every move. So be careful
Yes.
about that. Don't overdo it.
There are many stories about that.
And then we're just going to talk briefly about planning remotely and how we do things at Shire Law Group. So, when COVID hit a few years back, the governor did put out a executive order that allowed for documents to be signed, in a remote setting, like so over Zoom or Teams or something like that. So we still utilize that system today. So we do have a beautiful office right here in Lincolnshire that we're sitting in right now. And we always welcome clients to come in for this, but it could also be handled over Zoom. And the way that we run this for our young adults, we have a special low price program where we produce all 4 documents: the power of attorney for healthcare, the HIPAA authorization, the power of attorney for property, and the FERPA form. We have an online portal where the young adult goes in and spends 10 minutes filling in some information. We then prepare the documents, and then they either come in or we meet on Zoom. We go over all the documents with them. It takes about 40 minutes. We get them signed, and then we take care of the notary and all of the witnesses. So it's a nice little package that we do for $300. As I mentioned earlier, you can get these forms online, and you could do this yourself as well. But again, just exercise caution in that you need to make sure that they're witnessed properly and notarized if necessary as well. So just pay careful attention to that. But you can do this yourself as well. I mean, we like to think that our $300 service is affordable to most people and would is a good value because, again, we're explaining everything to the young adult and we're taking care to make sure that everything is handled properly. But no matter how you get this done, the important part is to making sure that it gets done sooner rather than later. So as soon as they turn 18, we do have some people that come in to our office on their 18th birthday. I can probably think of better ways to spend your 18th birthday than in a lawyer's office doing this, but we have a little gift for them and, we make a big deal of their birthday. So that's very nice. But certainly shortly thereafter might be a good plan. And, because once your adult child, God forbid, was unable to execute these documents, at that point, it's too late. I mean, you can't do the documents anymore if they can't execute them for whatever reason. And then you might be stuck with having to go to court to petition to become their legal guardian in order to make healthcare decisions or financial decisions. So pre-planning is very, very important. It's going to avoid having to plan during a crisis where your options, quite frankly, are going to be limited or non-existent. So you want to make sure that you have these things in place and you get it done. We like to also put out there that if they do turn 18 before they head off to school or heading out to their first job, it's nice to get it done before they leave, if they can do that if they're 18, because they get busy when they're at school. And but if you do have a young adult who's not going to turn 18 until after they start school, my own son was one of those people, then we generally meet up with these people when they come home, for a long weekend or, Thanksgiving break or the Christmas holiday break, whatever would be convenient. If they're in Illinois, again, we can also do it remotely. They don't have to be in Lincolnshire or the neighboring towns.
So some of the most important gifts that you can give to your child when they turn 18 and they become a legal adult is putting in place the documents, the power of attorney for healthcare. If they cannot make their own medical decisions, designating who can step in and make them on their behalf. The HIPAA authorization, who's authorized to get medical information, for example, who can call up a hospital and find out what's going on. The power of attorney for property. If your young adult needed assistance with financial affairs, that power of attorney for property would list who could step in and help out. The consent form to access educational records, FERPA, written consent form. A will or a trust if it's advisable. Look into insurance if it makes sense for your family, something to check out. Same thing with that medical ID and the safety apps.
We do have, should we consider these forms for adult children if they become divorced? Well, I guess the forms would be helpful whether they are single, married, or divorced. It really is irrespective of that. But certainly if you have older children that have, gone through a divorce, yes, I mean, these forms are really good for anybody who has the ability to sign them, including all of you that are listening today as well. So it's a great idea to get these forms done. And so please take the opportunity when you're able to do that so you can have some peace of mind knowing that this has been taken care of. Let's see, we got another one here. Yes, of course. So they have to be completed when they're over 18. They cannot be completed beforehand. So we do offer this special pricing, and we call it our college POA program. We do offer that to anyone who is, graduating from high school or is maybe a few years into college. That's going to be fine as well. Otherwise, I mean, they kind of fall into the regular adult category, for lack of a better term.
But obviously very important for everybody to have these documents, no matter what age you are, once you become a legal adult, for all the same reasons, right? If you couldn't make your own medical decisions, if you needed help with financial affairs, if you were in a hospital, who can call up? So the documents are very, very important.
I mean, I'd say these documents are important if you're 18 and they're important if you're 80, right? For
Correct.
different reasons, maybe.
Yeah.
But really anybody in between as well, or I guess above too. So certainly don't want to discriminate against our older Americans. But yes, these are really, for any adult, these are going to be important forms to have in place.
And just want to circle back for one moment that if you had these forms in place and you had named certain individuals, and then later on a divorce happened or something happened where you wanted to name different people, you just make a new one.
Right.
And it revokes the old one. So you're not locked in to what you did initially.
That's a great point. So they don't expire, but of course, your adult child can revoke it or do a new one whenever they want to do so. And that's something that we explain to them, because they, of course, have to be comfortable in signing everything. They are our client. You get to pay for it, of course, as parents, but they are our client, and we really want this to be a great experience. Hopefully, this is the first time they've ever interfaced with a lawyer, and we want to make sure that they have a good experience and they can tell all their friends about it, right? So,
But as Alan said, most important thing is that you get these done for your child when they turn 18.
Alan, Caren, thank you so much for sharing information. I agree with you. At any age, when they're 18 or when they're 88, you have to have these documents in place. Thank you so much for sharing information with us again tonight. And Jen, thank you very much to the Vernon Area Library for hosting tonight and hosting this webinar. It's really great. Jen, I think that you had you're getting thank yous from the group. I think that you had a question at the end. There's a couple of polls that if you guys could, if everybody could just answer for the library, please.
So yes, thank you so much. We just like to do an attendance poll kind of towards the end of a program. And this just helps us plan for future events. So thank you for those of you that answered. I'm going to go ahead and end that now. Tonight's program has been recorded, and that recording will go out. We'll get that to Dr. Organic for her to put up on the Stevenson YouTube page. It will also be up on the library page within the next couple days. So be on the lookout. I will send an email out to everyone that registered for the program this evening with a link to that as well. So once again, Alan and Caren, Dr. Organic, thank you so much. We love presenting this program every year. It's a great way to kind of wrap up everyone's senior year at Stevenson as they prepare to launch from the nest this fall. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you next time. Good night.
Hey, everybody.
Good
Thank
night.
Good night,
you.
everyone.